What's up, everybody? Welcome to Fanatically Speaking. I'm Kent.
I'm Log Off. I'm the Log Off legend. And we're here to say everything that every fan is thinking, but louder and probably a little crazier. Get ready. This is Fanatically Speaking with Kent and Log Off. You know what's funny? Like, I'm not a social media hater. I'm a social media hater. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I don't want people to think that I get on the internet and start hating people on social media. That's not what I do.
The first half was absolutely horrible. You know, just inept offense, inept defense, special teams, you name it.
I'm going to turn into Oprah. Why were you so angry?
He sucks this season. This game, whatever's going on, right? And the very next pitch, guess what they do? They double homer, and he's like, "Told you, Dad. Why are you always knocking down people?"
You got the highs and the lows.
Yeah, so I do that.
You need the highs and the lows, and
so I do that. Yeah, but
I'm trying to be the voice of reason here.
I am what I am. Welcome to another episode of Fanatically Speaking. This is Kent, co-host and promoter.
Yes, and I am the Log Off legend, the social media hater. I am the co-host and producer of the show.
And today, episode, we're going to get into the NIL and a few little other topics.
Yeah, we're going to go over that. So NIL, for those who may be part of the uninitiated side. So NIL is an acronym that stands for Name, Image, and Likeness. This was something that was actually brought up in some congressional hearings about whether or not collegiate sports athletes because initially when they would sign with the NCAA, they would give up their rights to earn money using their own name, image, and likeness. Sounds ridiculous, right? To some, that was the standard. You didn't want college athletes using that as an opportunity to make money outside of the schools that they had already committed to. So over the last few years, it's been a shift in that dynamic, and it's presented a lot of complications. One, because it allows the students to actually go out and earn their own money while being college athletes. The second thing is that it allowed colleges and universities to create their own pool of funds to pay the athletes to be committed to their schools to play for their sports teams. One big thing to keep in mind is that this is universal. So this covers all sports. So this means that a lot of sports that people didn't really think about that had a really good revenue pool, like let's just say women's college softball.
Yeah.
You see a lot of huge women's college softball athletes that are making millions of dollars, and then it extends to soccer and some of the other sports. So it gives them an opportunity to make something while being a college athlete. It presents some complications. Feel free to throw in whatever just kind of comes to your mind when I say complications.
I don't even know if I want to get in complications.
Okay.
I think when we talk about the NIL, you talked about women's softball, soccer, but to be honest, it's football and basketball. Those are the big ones in college because, again, for so long, colleges, like you mentioned, the players couldn't make money, but the colleges were making money.
They were.
The coaches
billions of dollars.
They were selling those jerseys with that star player's number on it. And you knew who it was. Coaches making millions, and this is all about again, college sports is they talk about student athletes, and they're not student athletes. It's a business, right? You mentioned it earlier in a podcast with that what are the major sports? It's NFL or it's NFL, NBA, and college football.
College football,
and football does run the world and the country, but. Again, it's such big business now.
It is.
And people's got takes. Well, they're students. They shouldn't be paid. But like I just said, you got coaches making millions, and they can leave a program in an instance when they get a better paying job.
Yes.
Now, thankfully, the players can leave as well, and that creates it's like a one big free agency.
Yeah, a huge free agency, and I'm glad you said that because this always kind of stuck with me. It was one of the things that was a huge turnoff for me when it came to college sports. I've been upfront about that. I've never been a big fan of college sports as a whole. Pick a sport. The genesis of that was the ability for what takes place to get a student to come to your school to play. That means that coach would scout. That coach would visit those students' homes, sit down with their parents, and convince them that he was the guy that was going to lead that young man or young woman into the next level of them becoming, whether or not it's a fantastic collegiate athlete or potentially a professional one. And then the second he got an opportunity to get another job somewhere else, all that went out the window. So you see issues where, like in college basketball, where players would get recruited, they sign, they commit, then the new coach comes in and he's like, I got my own players, dude. You got to go. Yeah. You're not even going to make this roster. Now guys are losing years of eligibility, and then it's like, oh, okay, so now you got guys are, fifth year senior. Okay, this guy was a senior. He was supposed to start. New coach comes in. I have this new hot freshman guy that's coming in. Sorry, man, you're not even going to get any minutes. Now what are you going to do? So it adds some complications that I know there are some coaches that have a lot of major issues with it. We mentioned Dabo. Dabo Sweeney, Nick Saban wasn't a huge fan of the transfer portal and players having the ability to kind of move a little more freely within the NIL ecosystem. I do think it makes it more fair for the players. I could care less about the competitive balance within these sports. Don't care. Do not care. There's always going to be an imbalance of the haves and the have-nots. And I think this makes it fair enough to where these kids can go to the places that they actually want to go and get an opportunity to play. And on top of that, they get to make money. They get to earn some revenue because who knows, if they tear their ACL, they may not have an opportunity to go and play professionally.
Yeah, you're right. And I definitely think when you're talking about being equal, again, when you're talking about coaches, the colleges making the money, the players definitely should make money. At first, it took me a while to get on board, but then when you put it in perspective of, it doesn't, like I said, it doesn't make sense that they were making money off these student athletes who are really just, and I just said it, student athletes.
Yeah, student athletes.
But really it's a business, and now it really is a business. But this is where we are. The good news is we get college football video games. So that's good. We get that back. And then the other thing, like I said, you brought up Dabo, you brought up Saban. I'm gonna bring up Tony Bennett, basketball with Virginia. What that brings is now this is the life. This is it.
You have to adjust.
We're not going back.
Yeah, you have to pivot.
Right. NIL's here. Dabo Sweeney does not want to do that. Right. He's trying to be traditional. He's trying to stick to the old ways, and that's just not gonna work. It's not going to work. It would be like, it'd be like going to the NFL and you don't explore free agency. You only want to build through the draft.
Well, yeah.
That's what it's equivalent to.
And I'll say this, and it is this to me again. I'll highlight this. This kind of shines a brightness of the sun on the arrogance of college coaches. And here's what I mean. Yeah. The list is infinite of coaches who conveniently want to get out of college coaching once NIL has become most prevalent. Jim Boeheim. Yeah. Nick Saban.
Yeah. Well, Boeheim,
So like you, and these are the guys who were great for years, and now it's like, oh, I don't want to have to shift and adjust like the rest of the world is. You and I, we live our lives every day having to adjust to things that are totally outside of our control.
Yeah.
College coaches for any sport have more control than any other coach in any other profession, period. They have control over their entire programs, and the things that take place are so manicured to make sure that when something happens, they're alerted so that they can make the adjustments that they need. And to say that guys making money on their team complicates things when coaches have been milking this forever, coaches would have, aside from their salary, from the university, they would have radio shows, they would do TV shows, they would sign sponsorship deals, and then sign sponsorship deals and then have the players wear that apparel so that they could sell it and then make more money. Yes. So I like that there's a balance now. I don't care if people say that it hurts their sports. don't give a shit. This is the way that it should have been all along, and I actually like the fact that the coaches who don't like it are moving out of the way and giving a chance for coaches that can embrace it and make their teams competitive come in and do what they need to do.
It's kind of weird though, right? Because I think everybody knew that players were getting paid before NIL deals.
Absolutely.
So now it's legal.
Yes.
And now you don't like it.
Yeah.
Which is really weird.
And
I'm not accusing them of anything because, you know what I mean? It's just kind of weird. Now, I'm going to bring this up. They're legends, right?
They are.
Near the end of their career. Saban could probably still coach another 5 years. Boeheim probably could too if he wanted, right? We've seen old coaches out there. But, you know, like Tony Bennett in basketball, he's relatively young. And we talked about, we were just talking about college, right? You know, like this goes on in high school, right?
That too.
Private schools they have NIL.
Yes.
So Tony Bennett, if he doesn't like it, he's not going to go to the NBA because that's just a bigger version. Well, he's not going to go coach private high school. He would have to go coach public high school basketball if he wants to get away from this.
Let's go see if he'll accept that salary because I don't think he will.
I don't think he will either.
I don't think he will.
But you see the difference, right? I mean, that's he would have to settle for. There's rumors of Saban going to the NFL. That didn't work the first time. And again, if he doesn't like what's going on, why would he go to the NFL?
Well, exactly.
Less control.
And
it's the same.
And I'll tell you this, and I love the ability to take a shot at Nick Saban.
Yes.
Wasn't Nick Saban didn't he say that he wasn't going to? So he got it. He left college football, left to go coach the Miami Dolphins.
Yes.
And then said publicly at a press conference that he was not going to leave the Miami Dolphins to go back to college, and did. That's the arrogance of the coaches that I've never been a fan of, and I like the fact that you have to hold them accountable for their words. Where they used to be able to just say anything that they wanted to, and you had to eat it. Why? Because that's the guy that runs the entire program, and those ADs are not going to get rid of Nick Saban.
No.
All right, we'll shift a little bit to the NFL here, do a little bit of NFL news. We wanted to kind of zero in on two key NFL players, relatively big names who've had some crazy changes to their seasons already. So we're going to start with Russell Wilson. And so Russell Wilson left the Pittsburgh Steelers, went to the New York Giants, and started the season with the Giants. I personally thought he was playing very well and fitting within that offense. He had some terrible games, and they ended up pulling him, benching him. We don't know how indefinite it's going to be. Maybe they'll throw him back out there. We don't know. But he's 36-year-old. Undersized yet proven quarterback. He's kind of turned into a journeyman, the last few years playing for, several teams. But I guess big picture, do you think it's over for him? Do you think he has an opportunity to become a starting quarterback in the NFL either this season or after this season? Or do you think it's done for him?
I think he's good enough that like this season, if the Giants say we're just going to stick with Dart,
okay,
then maybe we talk about these injuries on these other teams. They could pick up Russell Wilson, right? Cheaper than Kirk Cousins, which Kirk Cousins might be getting the start here pretty soon for Atlanta. But yeah, right now with the Giants, Dabo, he's coaching for his job. He's got to make decisions to make them win. Russ has looked okay at times, and then other times he does not. I don't think he's washed, but obviously he's obviously near the end. You know what I mean? But then I look at guys like Joe Flacco, and I'm like, he's a starting quarterback in the NFL this year, and he's 40, early, yeah. So he's older than Russ. He's still sticking around, kind of the same track record. Won a Super Bowl, played on some good teams with good defenses, same as Russ. Russ, we know, got the one Super Bowl, should have two, and whoever you want to blame on that. But yeah, so is Russ done? I don't think he's done.
Okay.
But I think it's getting there. Like you mentioned, he out of Seattle, 2 seasons in Denver, one season in Pittsburgh. Now he's in New York.
Yes.
When you start switching teams every year, the next step is you're going to be that veteran backup.
Well, and I'll say this: he's one of those quarterbacks that has such a resume that I don't see him being a backup quarterback in the NFL. I think he's a starter or nothing. I'm not even going to attribute that to his ego. I think I'm going to attribute it to what he's done and accomplished, all the money and contracts that he's made. And I honestly wouldn't blame him to say, you know what, if I'm not going to get a starting opportunity, that's the type of player that I want to be in the NFL. But what I do want to do is apply some context. I want to apply some context to Jackson Dart. Now, Jackson Dart was a first-round pick for the Giants, which means so they went out and picked this player. They scouted him. They liked him. They drafted him late in the first round, okay? So he has a resume all of his own. He's got a different frame, a different build, and honestly a different skill set than Russ.
Yeah.
But also keep in mind that they're a fledgling franchise. They want to see what they have. Maybe they do feel like Jackson Dart is their best opportunity to win, but at the same time, they drafted him in the first round. Maybe they just want to see what kind of chops he has and just kind of see, how he can perform being thrown into this situation. I don't fault them for benching Russ. No. Okay, it happens. These are things that happen with aging quarterbacks, but he's not being benched for a scrub. He's benched for a high first-round draft pick who was on a lot of teams' draft boards, and this is their chance to see whether or not he's got what it takes to be, their franchise player. I don't think it's a disservice for Russ to be on the bench in this particular scenario. I think this is as fair as it could have been, and I think they gave him an opportunity, and it just didn't work out.
Yeah, for whatever reason, it didn't work, and it'll show Russ. I like Russell Wilson. I think he is an overall good guy. So it would just show, his professionalism here, to be that veteran backup and help Jackson Dart hopefully, and along with Jameis Winston, because I know Winston is that guy that will help that young quarterback.
Got it.
He's been there, done it. So
yes.
Russ is a different position, but I agree with you. Russ I think is a big enough name. Some guys just don't become backup quarterbacks.
Yeah,
right,
and that's what I mean.
They're just it's their aura,
if you think about
ego,
the names,
aura,
yes.
skill set, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
Some guys are they don't become backups.
Yes, and just to put a bow on this, it makes sense that Joe Flacco was a backup quarterback.
Yeah,
it makes sense that Brett Favre was not a backup quarterback.
Exactly.
They're just two, and both of them won Super Bowls.
Yeah,
it was just a difference in the style of play, the quarterback, and the personality.
Yeah.
To shift things to the other player we wanted to go over, Mr. Shedeur Sanders. Okay, Shedeur Sanders, as any college football fan knows, started quarterback for Colorado last year. Deion Sanders' son. So he was drafted by the Cleveland Browns. I think it was fifth round. And late, everyone was expecting him to go earlier. He didn't. Fell in the draft for a myriad of insinuated issues.
Yeah.
So his situation now is weird. Still being on the team, still being on the roster. There was some recent news that came out. Do you want to gloss over that real quick, Kent?
Yeah, I think he made a quote, and I don't have the complete quote, but I'm just going to say that he mentioned that of all the looking at the quarterback play in the league and the guys that are getting play, basically that he is good enough, or if not better than some of these guys to play.
Okay.
And I can agree with what he said. I think the issue that everyone's having is he right now is the third-string quarterback for the Cleveland Browns.
Yes.
Which you're not the third-string quarterback on the Philadelphia Eagles or the Kansas City Chiefs or the Baltimore Ravens. You are the third-string quarterback on the Cleveland Browns. Right or wrong, right? And I'm on that side of, I don't believe he should be a third-string quarterback. I don't know what the Browns are doing, the league. Whoever is trying to humble him into whatever, I'm never going to understand that. I can agree that, yes, he definitely has that, call it whatever, arrogance or confidence, right?
Thin line between those two, by the way.
There's a thin line.
Very thin line.
But again, if you watch Deion Sanders, if you didn't, go back and watch it. Again, I think the greatest corner.
Must be the money.
Yeah, I think he's the greatest corner ever. Shut down, right? So, and Dion carried himself that way. And Shedeur does too. And sometimes that's okay. We don't have to say you can't do that, right? I think Baker Mayfield carries himself that way. So it's okay to be that way. So we could get into he should have never dropped to the 5th round. You see these teams, they are putting out quarterbacks that are lesser than him. It's just sometimes, somebody has to say, hey, Shedeur, maybe don't say that.
So I'm actually going to take a different approach. I don't want to talk about Shedeur in the context of football. This is probably totally out of bounds for me to go to. But I'm going to go to Shedeur as a person, as a personality.
Okay.
I would love to explore further. Why is it seems as if he's not as liked? And the comparison I'm going to use is a Baker Mayfield. I would call Baker Mayfield both confident and arrogant,
yes,
but lovable.
Okay.
Shedeur doesn't get that. Shedeur gets either one or the other, and it's like, he's a little too cocky, So, and think about it. Just let's put those two gentlemen side by side. Let's put Baker Mayfield on one side and Shedeur Sanders on the other side. Both of them not prototypical sized quarterbacks.
Right.
Okay. Both of them had great college careers. Mm-hmm. Okay. Both of them get drafted into the NFL. And I'm sorry, weren't they both drafted by the same teams?
By the Cleveland Browns.
Way
different spots.
Totally different circumstances.
Yeah.
But so there's a crazy comparison between the two there,
okay,
right?
Yeah.
But then also when you think about Baker Mayfield, nothing comes to my mind of any player through college, through the Browns, through when he played for the Panthers. I can't think of any instance in which anyone had a bad word to say about him.
About Baker?
About Baker. As a teammate.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. So
not off the field.
Off the field,
issues,
none of that. But even
just talking about a player on the field.
A player in the locker room.
Yeah.
I'm talking about your locker room aura.
Yeah.
Clearly, this is Shedeur's rookie season. But the one thing I know, and we've spoken about this for about several quarterbacks specifically, you have to be likable. Guys have to be willing to do things for you and campaign for you. That O-line has to love you, okay? Or he might chip off a block and let somebody come free and take your head off if he doesn't like you.
Yeah.
So those are just one of those things that I would love to explore a little more. I'm not going to say he's a bad kid, and he is young.
He's young.
And he's accomplished a lot already. He's already won in life, okay? But if you want to do this, at some point, you've already fallen in the draft. You already weren't the starting quarterback. You have to adjust. Something that you're doing isn't working. And I'll say this goes for anyone. I don't care what your job is. I don't care what you do for a living. The one thing that'll keep you in your job is being likable. You could be terrible at your job. I know you've worked with people, Kent, who are terrible employees, but boy, are they beloved. And they're with that organization for years.
Yeah.
It buys you so much when you show up somewhere and people smile, you know what, man, I really like that guy.
It's hard to get rid of him.
Yeah, oh my God, Emily over there, she's just so sweet.
Yeah.
And Emily could be trash at her job, but she's still working there because she's likable. Shedeur's going to have to learn to do some of that, especially in an NFL locker room.
Yeah. Some of it, we know the history, and I'll a couple of things I'll bring up that he did. He had the New York Giant color cleats, right, before the draft, right. Then he had so I was basically just saying, I'm going to be a top 3, top 5 pick. Then, the draft day, he was filming it, had the setup, had the party, had the screens. He's not just sitting at his house, like these other guys with their family, just sitting on the couch patiently waiting, right? It looked like he had a party, which is fine. That's cool. I understand the flash because I understand
what he comes from.
Dion, right?
Chip off the old block.
He is different than anything we've seen, I think, coming out of college and the way he is, right? But the one thing I do know that he can play football, right? And that's my thing. And maybe it's because it's the quarterback position, because we've seen guys before the draft. Things come out right before the draft, and they still get picked high. You know what I mean? There's, whether it's the Joe Mixon, the Laramie Tunsil, and they still get drafted high, top 2 rounds, right? I mean, maybe because he's a quarterback, teams didn't want to take that risk. But, at the end of the day, I look at teams like the Saints, the Steelers, who need a future quarterback. And it's like, man, you're just telling me that you just could not take a chance on Shedeur Sanders?
Well, I'll say this, and I think this will kind of close things out in its proper context. The other gentleman that you mentioned who seemed to have their issues pre-draft,
yes,
you can't tell me what their voice sounds like.
Well, I know.
Yeah. So that matters. You have to have some amount of humility. People have to know that when things get rough, that you are gonna fall in line, because it's not just about you, Shedeur. Like there's a lot of people who are attaching you to their job. They're attaching you to their career.
Yeah.
They have to have confidence that you're going to be willing to subdue is probably a little too offensive, but you got to take a step back, and you have to understand that, hey man, if there's a list, you can't just go, hey man, it's not my fault everybody doesn't like me. Maybe there's a reason why people don't like you, and maybe it's you. Maybe it's your decisions you're making and the way you're behaving. Maybe just keep it in mind.
It could be, and hopefully this season will change them. So far, it doesn't seem that way.
I hope it does. I really do, for his sake. All right, so to close out the show, we always like to try to close out the show with something fun, random, something a little silly, just to kind of keep the fun and humor. And along those lines, we were thinking, who is like some of our favorite funny athletes, throughout sports as a whole? I think, and actually, I stole this quote from Charles Barkley. Sports is one of those things that really galvanizes people as a whole above anything else. I don't care what you pick. Sports does something to groups of people, and there's funny people within those ecosystems, especially when it comes to sports athletes. So when you think of funny athletes, who comes to mind for you?
When you brought up this topic, I immediately thought of Lance Stevenson. and again, it's been some years since this all went down, when he was a part of the Indiana Pacers.
Yes.
And they were battling LeBron with Miami, correct?
Gotcha,
yeah.
Yes.
And, it's him blowing in LeBron's ear.
or with his hands on his knees, blowing in his ear.
Blowing in another grown man's ear on the basketball court, which is just funny. Right?
Yes.
That's when you talk about distractions, that may be the all-time let me get in your head.
Yes. Yes. I'm going to try to get a reaction out of you.
Yeah.
And the interesting thing about that is I always wondered whether or not Lance Stevenson thought that anyone would notice it. So because it was so random, and it was such a bizarre thing to do. It's like, do you understand that every camera in here just caught you doing that?
It was just, like I said, it was like the ultimate, like normally you chirp in their ear or you just stare them down.
Yes.
He said, I'm going to blow in the best basketball player in the world's ear.
Yes, yes. Well, and what's so funny? Think about that. Just think about, everybody does the Jordan LeBron comparisons.
Yes.
Could you imagine anyone who had the nerve to blow in Michael Jordan's ear?
No.
I don't ever see it happen.
They would never.
Never in a million years wouldn't happen.
They got the nerve to fight him.
Yes.
But they didn't never get the nerve.
Oh, yeah. Look, Reggie Miller would put hands on him, but he's not going to blow
Reggie
it.
fought everybody.
He did.
And Spike Lee. But say with Lance, again, it wasn't just that moment. I think that was the moment that opened our eyes.
Yeah.
But then you start watching him play the way, it was just kind of the way he ran up court or going through his shot and his reactions. Everything about Lance Stevenson was just funny. He just kind of like goofy.
Got it. And and rare in the terms that he was still a respected basketball player.
He had talent.
Yes.
Good,
yes.
but it also tells you something when one of the top free agents, the Charlotte Hornets, ever drafted, or not drafted, I'm sorry, signed. Mm-hmm. Yeah, one of the best free agents that the Hornets / Bobcats ever signed on that list is Lance Stevenson, of all people.
Got it.
And that did not work out well at all.
Got it. My answer, and I was behind the scenes on this, guys. I had a basketball player too, but I did not want to go with two basketball players for the answers for this. When Kent came up with his, I do think his is better. So I'm going to shift, and I'm going to go with an NFL Hall of Fame quarterback, incredibly well respected, and the reason why I'm picking him as my pick for one of my funniest favorite athletes of all time is you never saw it coming. I'm going to go with one Peyton Manning. Peyton Manning is hilarious. If anyone listening to this, if you don't know what I'm referencing, he did a skit on SNL where he was an arbiter or a spokesperson for the United Way. I'm not going to give it away. Run to whatever mobile device you have, whatever is connects to the internet, and you Google Peyton Manning, SNL, United Way. It is comedic genius, okay? It embodies everything that you love about what you think about an NFL quarterback and humor at the highest level. It was exceptionally well done. And then the other thing I'm going to throw in is he did some fantastic Sports Center commercials with him and Eli.
Yes.
They did, so they were doing the brother on brother type thing. Obviously Eli had, a lot more Super Bowl success than Peyton could, and at certain times in their career. So he's always showed this great balance to have a humorous personality. But, when you would see him, you would think of him as serious quarterback guy. So to see the humor side of him was incredibly refreshing to me. And I'm going to go with him as my pick.
That's a really good one. And you could really just do a combo with Eli. I mean, they do the Manning cast every Monday. So, it's pretty funny, right? They're pretty funny guys.
Very.
Right? I mean, I think, when you talk about marketable and being on commercials,
yes,
showing that side. And I think they really are. Again, they're showing it every Monday on TV, right? When you want to just get away from the regular ESPN programming, Monday Night Football,
that
you just
part of the broadcast.
Go to that Manning cast.
Yeah, the Manning cast. Yeah, they chop it up. They
are
guests
funny. They have guests. It's really funny,
yeah.
And that's a really good one. And I'm gonna just throw this out, and we're gonna run out. I brought this up. We didn't bring it up as one of ours, but baseball-wise, I think Manny Ramirez was a really funny athlete. It was always Manny being Manny, and nobody cared.
It was one of those things that that he was able to have that long leash as a player, where you knew he was going to be silly, you knew he was going to do unconventional things, and everyone just kind of accepted it and just allowed it and just say, hey man, it's just who he is. It's just the type of person that he is.
I mean, taking a break to go to the bathroom inside the Green Monster, or cutting off a throw from the center fielder when he is the left fielder.
There you
and
go.
If you know baseball, you're not the cutoff as the other outfielder. So Manny doing dumb stuff. It was just Manny being Manny.
Yes.
Yeah. But another funny athlete.
Super funny athlete. No, I like
different
that one.
Sport, funny athlete.
Yeah, that's a good one.
All right, so that's another episode of Fanatically Speaking. Again, I am Kent, the promoter and co-host.
Yeah, I am a log off legend, the hater of social media. I am the co-host and producer of the show. Thank you guys for listening again. I am not on the internet, but I am going to ask you, please like, subscribe, review. We are on TikTok. We are on Spotify. We are on Apple Podcasts. We are on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. Find us on any of those platforms. Share, comment. Please chime in. Over the next few days, we're actually going to put some polls on where we can have some fan engagement, ask some questions, and give our listeners an opportunity to contribute to the show. And so we want to make sure that we give you guys all those platforms. Just run to it and give us some more ideas, and maybe they'll make it to the show.
Yeah, and as we've mentioned before, we do get topics that we have used.
Yes.
Not that we don't have topics.
Yeah, we got plenty of
we
them.
want to, again, we are fans, as we talk about, and we want to hear from the fans of sports and our fans that listen. And if you want to hear us talk about a topic, let us know, and we will be glad to dive in. But yeah, we're definitely going to run that by you all, and then let us know, and then we'll do a poll and pick
we'll do
pick
polls.
the top ones.
Yeah, we'll do polls. Throw it in the comments. If you can message, if you want to throw a direct message, send it. I will not read it, but someone else will. But certainly chime in. Let us know, and we'll be happy to see if we can work it into the show for you. How you feel, Kent? You good?
That's it.
All right, I'll go ahead and kill it.